Hey, what's up guys? I'm Steve Wells. I'm excited to announce that 5 days ago I finished my first ever 50 miler. So had done a 50K before that, but this is only my second ever ultra. And it went as well as you would expect a first 50 miler to go. I finished, I got in under the cutoff time, and that's really all I was hoping for. You can check out some pictures of that, a map of my run, and my times, results of other people, that kind of thing. I'll have it all down in the description below, link to my Instagram, Strava, and the results from the race if you want to go check that out. Those are typically the best ways to follow what I have going on a regular basis. Next week I'll probably be talking something a little bit about that 50 miler, maybe kind of gear that I use, nutrition, that kind of thing, to give a first timer like I was 5 days ago, to give you guys some advice on what I found worked, what I found didn't work, what I might change if I'm doing races like that again in the future. But this week I am going to be talking about a company some of you may have heard of, some of you may not have. It's called Altra. So kind of their philosophy is to allow your foot to do a little bit more of what it wants to do naturally. So I have a couple of their shoes here right now. This is the Paradigm, the Wahweap, and the Lone Peak. So one of their higher cushion trail shoes, casual shoes, and one of their trail shoes. They're all going to have what they call foot-shaped toe box out here, so nice and wide to allow for your nose. So nice and wide to allow for your toes to naturally splay in the end of the shoe the way that they want to. Strengthen your feet, allow a little bit more of a natural foot strike. And also, they all have what they're calling right now zero drop. They're going to be changing it to balanced cushioning in the future, so they're not scaring people away from it. But essentially what that's going to be is heel to toe drop is going to be 0. So it's going to be flat across between your heel and the ball of your foot to allow for that more natural midfoot strike, allow for your body to absorb that shock on its own and not just relying on the shoe doing all of the work for you. Also allows that Achilles to stretch a little bit farther down, which can alleviate some problems that a lot of runners run into. But we're not going to be talking about any of these shoes today. We are going to be talking about the Altra Escalante 2. I haven't done enough miles in this shoe to really give it a thorough review, but what I want to do is compare it to its predecessor, the Altra Escalante 1.5. So obviously by looking at it, you got that foot-shaped toe box, you got that zero drop going on as in all of their shoes. This is not one of their racing flats, but it's kind of one of their little bit more minimalist trainer. You're still getting a decent amount of cushion under your foot, but not as much as something like the Paradigm or the Torin, which are a couple of their other shoes. So I will start by talking about some things that they've changed that I like about the shoe, which a lot of people I've been seeing around, hearing from people, some complaints about the update from the 1.5 to the 2. Some people aren't liking what they did with the update, but personally I like this shoe much better, especially with the way that my foot strikes. Gives you a little bit more structure. So it has this kind of redesigned upper material versus the 1.5 that's going to, I found, lock in your foot a little bit better. I found in the 1.5 with this upper here that it was a little bit too stretchy for my taste, that I would be going around a turn and the shoe would go around the turn, but my feet would kind of keep going and I would be kind of falling off the platform to the side. So if you're going to be doing anything a little more technical, if you're going around sharp turns, if you're going to be doing anything other than running in this shoe, the 1.5 definitely is not going to provide that structure in the upper. The 2, they solve that problem for me, especially with the way that I pronate. As I've worn in these shoes, I've found that I just keep moving farther and farther over the side here. And I know this shoe wasn't designed for me, but I want to run in it. And the 2 has solved a lot of the problems that I have encountered in this shoe, with that structure of the upper being a little bit too stretchy for me. So the next thing I want to talk about is kind of a nitpicky thing that can be solved, but is just stupid. Why would this ever be a problem? So this is actually a problem that I've found in a lot of Altra shoes, especially like the Torin. But for some reason, they love to give you super long laces. Which, if you compare the 1.5, which is the blue one here, to the 2, which is the red one, they have significantly shortened the laces. So in the 1.5, I found myself, it would be tied up. I would think it was coming untied. I would look down and it's actually just flopping all over the place, but still tied up. I have to double, triple knot it just to use up some of that lace, go back through the second eyelet, do a heel lock just to use up a little bit of lace, that kind of thing. But that is a problem that I think that they solved in the 2 here with these slightly shorter laces. So a thing that I think is a pro, not everyone is going to agree on this, but the tongue between the 1.5 and the 2. So the tongue on the 1.5 I found was super long, kind of going up a little bit higher than I wanted it to on my ankle, and kind of bothering me, rubbing on the top. The 2, they have a different shaped tongue, so it kind of cuts down in a little bit so that you're not going to get that rubbing at all on the top of your foot, and also significantly shorter, and has this extra piece that goes farther down to hold the tongue in place a little bit better. While that is good that they have that extra piece in there, I've found, so I only have probably 50 maybe miles on these shoes. I have probably 200 on these. I actually have a little bit of a hole starting where that piece connects into the tongue, which I'm not sure if that's going to become a problem or not, but that's a little bit upsetting, that I am starting to get that hole on the top there. We'll see if it becomes a problem, if it gets any worse, or if it was just if it's just the material stretching. Also in the 2, they have reduced the thickness here of the heel collar, and I think that that's awesome. It really allows you to get a little bit better of a lockdown around your heel instead of having this big puffy heel collar here that you're trying to lock yourself into, sliding all over the place. A little bit more of a normal fit in the 2, which I think is a big improvement over the 1.5. So on to the actual significant changes to the shoe. So if you take a look at the bottom here, feels like to me, just feeling them and running in them, that might be a little bit harder of a rubber compound that will definitely help improve durability. That was a big complaint from a lot of people on the 1.5, was the durability. Some people were getting these peeling off. You can see how it's kind of worn on this midsole material here. Some of that's kind of smoothing out, getting thorns stuck in there, that kind of thing, which with a little bit more rubber, a little bit harder rubber, hopefully will improve durability on the 2. They also have, so they're still using the same midsole material, their Ego midsole material, but they have firmed it up a lot in the 2 versus the 1.5. So definitely a firmer feel to this shoe, a little bit more responsive, I would say. But also, the biggest thing that I've seen people complaining about is the flexibility of the new shoe with that firmer compound. So if you take a look at the 1.5 and you bend it, it's so flexible, it basically just bends in half. But if you look at the 2, significantly less flexible, which for me is a pro, because I like a little bit firmer, a little bit less flexible shoes. That crazy flexibility is not my thing with the way that my feet are, but for a lot of people that is causing problems for them. So that brings me on to cons of the 2 versus the 1.5, why you might look around and try to find a pair of 1.5 still. And it's actually some of the same things that are the pros for me are cons for a lot of other people. So flexibility, getting a lot more flexibility in that 1.5 versus the 2. If you like in a more flexible shoe, if you love the Escalante because of that flexibility, you are going to miss it whenever you're moving to the 2. Also, another thing I had listed as pros is a con for a lot of people from what I've heard, and that's the tongue. So the tongue fits a lot of people's feet perfectly, not mine, but it fits a lot of people's feet perfectly in the 1.5. In the 2, with that shorter tongue, something my girlfriend was just talking about whenever she's wearing hers, drives her crazy because it slides around to the side, even with this extra piece coming down here, slides down to the side, even crushes down into the shoe. Then you gotta stop and pull it up during the run. So that's one reason that she still has her 1.5s around, and I have been running in the 2 a lot more. So as far as cons for this shoe, that about wraps it up for me. If you have any other cons, any complaints about the 2 versus the 1.5, definitely feel free to leave a comment down below. Let me know if you've run in both of these shoes, what you like about them, what you don't like about them. I love to hear that feedback so that I can share it with other people. So I'm definitely still going to be running in both of these shoes. What's kind of interesting, a little bit of a backstory behind me getting these shoes. So I heard about the zero drop thing. I really liked the Lone Peak and the Superior, which are 2 of their trail shoes that I really wanted to try out, but wasn't sure if I should totally switch to that zero drop platform if I was going to be running trail shoes, if I could go back and forth between road and trail shoes, which I've found that I can fairly easily go back and forth between low, zero, higher drop shoes and not have a problem, but it does cause problems for some people. So definitely be aware of that if you're switching, keeping those calves loose, that Achilles loose as you are transitioning, as in switching to any new shoe. Just kind of try to do it gradually. If you're having problems, be aware that the new shoe might be what's causing that problem. So I got the 1.5 so that I could have a road shoe to go with my Superiors so that I could get used to that zero drop platform between trail and road. And I actually found that I really like that zero drop feel on the road. And that's why whenever this 2 came out, tried it on, was really excited about it because it is similar to the 1.5, but is giving you a little bit more structure that I was craving in the Escalante 1.5. Another thing about the zero drop, it's kind of funny. It actually, believe it or not, makes you feel faster because you are going to be having that higher cadence, kind of encourages that whether you're trying to do it or not, encourages that mid-foot strike that we're all trying to look for to prevent injuries and that kind of thing. And so that's why I think that, you know, with all of the minimalist shoes and that kind of thing, that people are switching to too quickly and causing injuries for themselves. This is really a good in between, because you're on man-made surfaces, you're on concrete, you're on asphalt. So getting that extra cushion, but not inhibiting that natural movement is really important in preventing injuries all around. And so going along with that kind of natural movement, whenever I was first switching to the Escalante, I noticed some soreness in like my ankles and my shins and that kind of thing. Not bad soreness, just tiredness essentially. But that has gone away as I've run in the shoes more. And really what I think it was using new muscles that I haven't been using in a long time, being in like a higher drop shoe, a more structured shoe, using those new muscles and strengthening them, which hopefully will allow me to run farther, run for a longer amount of time, you know, be one of those 75-year-old guys that's out beating those 20-year-olds in races. So that's pretty much all I got on the Escalante 1.5 versus the 2. Whenever I get more miles in on the 2, I'll definitely be doing a full review of this shoe, going a little bit more in depth. Whenever I have more likes and dislikes, we can check out the durability whenever I get some more miles on it, that kind of thing. So be sure to check the description down below for my Strava, Instagram, and those race results from earlier this week that I was talking about. They'll all be down there. Be sure to check them out, and that's the best way to follow me, keep up to date with what I have going on. We'll see what I have in store next. I haven't really decided what I want to do. Maybe I'll do more 50Ks or 100? I don't know. We'll see. But in the meantime, I will be posting videos weekly, so be sure to stop by next Thursday to hear a little bit more about my experience in my first 50 mile. Check out some of the gear that I was using. So thanks for watching, guys.